Hey there, my name is Shane Craddock, and this is the Inner Edge podcast, where I share a different take on how to lead and live a sustainable, high performance life. Over the course of different episodes, I'm going to challenge the belief that tension, stress, and struggle are essential to success and creativity. My experience is that there's an easier way, there's a better way, and indeed there's an essential way that we need to explore for the times that we live in. So let's go ahead, let's jump in and explore. Hello there, and welcome to today's episode. I hope wherever you are listening to this in the world, you are in good spirits. I'm going to share with you just a little idea today that might have very profound reaches in your work and in your life. And it kind of came out of a discussion with somebody recently where they had said to me in our first meeting, "Oh, I'm a little bit surprised about you. I thought that you would get me to start focusing more on positive thinking." And that's what kind of gave me the idea for today's episode, which I'm calling negative thinking versus better thinking versus less thinking. And I think the point I want to make to you today, as I reflected after this conversation, when I kind of said in the moment what was true for me and how I believe that less thinking is actually much better than positive thinking. Positive thinking is something that I think I just don't really think it has much of an effect. It's a little bit better than negative thinking, but not in the way perhaps people think. And the key point for me today to share with you is less thinking is much better than any thinking, good, bad, positive, or negative. And it has occurred over the years I've been working in what I do in terms of helping leaders and helping people, that people will occasionally say that they're surprised that, "Oh, I thought you're like Mr. Positive." And I mean, I am Mr. Positive, optimistic for people's lives and for their potential, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't hear reality at all. I think I'm a fan of reality as much as anything. And I am a fan of using your mind as a tool and to put in positive imagery and to use it in a constructive way to enhance your work and your life. And that is very possible when you understand the creative power of thought and also the immense potential of your mind. But what I find interesting, if I reflect on my own journey, is that as somebody who was very much locked in habitual patterns of negative thinking, which resulted in me feeling depressed, I learned the power of how I felt because of my thinking. So that was the first thing. And then I said, okay, well, I followed some of the mainstream or maybe the new advice at the time, kind of the Tony Robbins way of thinking, I guess, at the time, which was, okay, let's reprogram our minds. Let's use positive thinking. Let's use better thinking. And that definitely made a difference. There's no other way to say in my own life, it made a difference. But what I found over time was that there was a ceiling on that difference. And what I also find interesting is that in recent years, there's been kind of research emerging, which is showing that in many ways, it's more effective to have less negative thinking than it is to have more positive thinking. I think part of that comes into the formula that Timothy Galway, who pioneered the inner game, I guess, really, with that first book, The Inner Game of Tennis, he has a formula which kind of goes very simply, performance is equal to potential minus interference. And what's the interference? Really, it's thinking. Now, that thinking, though, could be positive or negative. It's whatever gets in the way of you paying attention in the moment in a pure way. And my own experience in life, surprisingly at times, if I'm looking at what's true and what has actually happened, the results, my own experience has shown me that less thinking brings out the best in me, which I find fascinating. Now, I use this analogy a lot with clients. You've probably heard me talk about it here on the podcast. It's a very powerful metaphor, really, really powerful metaphor. And I share it in the book, The Inner CEO, as well. It's where your mind is like a snow globe. It works best when it's calm, clear, and settled. And if you think about a snow globe, let's imagine you've got it in your hand and you're shaking it. It's full of that white glitter or white snow. And that snow in the metaphor represents your thinking. But it could be positive thinking or negative thinking, any type of thinking. It just represents a busy mind full of thinking. But if you let that snow globe settle, the snow settles, your thinking settles, and the snow globe is your mind. And as the snow globe settles, you start to see whatever is in the snow globe. So they could be objects or one object, or maybe it's a slogan. And the way I normally share this analogy with people is that whatever the object is maybe it's the idea or the path or the solution or the decision or the clarity that you're looking for. But first of all, the snow globe is clear. And with that clarity comes, as a human, if that's your mind, think about you with a relaxed mind. I find what I found myself and with my clients, and I see it in people, when people have a calm mind, they're naturally happy. They're more their real selves. They are naturally present. And their intuition is more connected. They're more inclined to kind of have those breakthrough ideas, to have just to have that clarity. And if you can imagine bringing that state of mind, that kind of clear mind, that snow globe type of mind, calm snow globe mind, into a conversation with a person or with people, what you generally find is that in a very effortless way, you're present. You're really there. Versus, think about you with the busy mind, and you're sitting talking to somebody, and you're very often with a busy mind, it's not so much that you're there. I mean, physically you're there, but mentally you're kind of thinking about what they're saying. You're thinking about what you're going to say to what they're saying. Maybe you're analyzing in a self-conscious way. Was I stupid? Did I say something stupid? Is what I'm about to say stupid? Or you're analyzing everything about the situation other than just being there. And that changes the experience of being there, not just for you, but actually for the other person, because I'm sure, I've no doubt, as you're listening to this, you've been with people where you know they're there physically, but mentally they're just not there. That's because their mind is too busy. But then the interesting thing to do with performance is, well, what's that got to do with, like, well, surely if I think better things, there's no doubt about it. I think it's whatever works for you. So if you're imagining something positive in terms of a work or a sport, and it makes you feel good, that's fantastic. But if you're able to keep your mind calm like a snow globe, this is my favorite one because I think this is the highest impact on your performance in any context, but also in terms of, just as I say, even being with people, and just to have a relaxed version of you, to have the real you there, not trying to put on a mask, not trying to put on any pretense, just to be there. The less thinking, the better. And if it's helpful, certainly for me it is. I think about thoughts like clouds. They're there, they're floating by. Some days there's more than others. Some days it feels like I'm only ever going to have clouds. I can never see the sun again, especially if you're in Ireland. And that can happen to anybody mentally. But if you don't get caught up with the clouds, which is your thinking, and you let them pass on by, they just move. They just move. So what about you? As I was kind of reflecting on sharing some thoughts around this particular podcast today, I was thinking, well, what would be meaningful to share? I'm going to give you just two simple exercises. One is, over the next 24 hours, pick one person in your work or your life and deliberately 100% practice just being there with them. Be there. Practice less thinking. So when you're there with them, just notice how you are with them. That will actually help you think less. Now, your mind will probably still, from habit, still be reacting, still be thinking, and just observe it. But just practice noticing how you are with them. It'll help just being there and having less thinking. If you start kind of getting wound up or asking yourself, why am I so busy in my mind? That'll make the snow globe busier. That'll give you more thinking, ironically. That's the skill. And then the second part of the exercise, which is connected, is, pick one day this week, maybe the next 24 hours, with your work, and just be with your work 100%, i.e., 100% engage with it. Don't be thinking anything negative about it, or just ignore the thinking and just get on with it. Show up. But don't even be thinking anything positive about it either. Just engage 100%. If there's toughs to do, that's just your mind saying it's tough. Just take it on and just do it. Apply yourself 100% to whatever you know needs to be done in your work or your business. ironically, when you do something like that, generally what happens is you get the one thing that matters most in business, which is action and momentum. Momentum is the key thing. Just for clarity, I'm not saying that, obviously I talk about the positive, amazing use of thought and the mind all the time, because it's incredible what we can create with thinking. But just as an experiment, I think it's worth checking out less thinking. I mean, it's impossible pretty much to eliminate thinking because that's not the nature of humans, but less thinking, there's a lot more enjoyment, a lot more creativity, and a lot better results. And I'd love to hear, if you try it out, how you get on. Let me know. That's it for this week. Try less thinking. Ciao for now.